Time now for the Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.
Now, I mentioned this because John Fetterman was at the Kennedy Center doing a town hall, participating with others in the town hall. And John Fetterman has surprised, I think, a lot of people by being probably the lone major voice of reason and common sense in Congress. Supporting Israel, refusing to call President Trump a Nazi and a fascist. My mother, long-time Democrat, even after she began voting for George W. Bush and Republicans, I like to think because of my influence, she never changed her party. It was emotional. My father, entire life, Republican. And they would have really serious, intense arguments. But nobody called anybody a Nazi. Nobody called anybody a fascist. Nobody said you only care about the rich, you don't care about the poor. Nobody said that. They argued respectfully. And why we can't do that? Because you don't like Donald Trump's personality? Because you think he's vain? Because you don't like the way he puts people down? He insults people? I've told you a million times, don't look at his swing, look where the ball lands. On the economy, on foreign policy, on borders, on school choice, on crime, on the common sense not to have biological men competing against biological women, not to perform this gender-affirming surgery on minors. Common sense. That's why Scott Jennings' book is called A Revolution of Common Sense. We'll talk about that next hour. Here is John Fetterman at the Kennedy Center, number 59.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve. Give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that Pasek assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was in my state, was shot in the head. And if that could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way with Kirk? We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that.
We should agree to take the temperature down. And you have people like AOC still refusing to give Donald Trump credit. Well, we'll see. It's hard to say. I don't know. Honestly. Still calling him a racist. Well, he said a lot of things about people living in Gaza before he did this ceasefire deal, so I'm not going to really praise him for doing the ceasefire deal because we wouldn't be having the conversation about Gaza. October 7 never would have happened had Joe Biden not pulled out the way he did from Afghanistan. Donald Trump comes in, he smashes Iran, crushes the Houthis in Yemen, allows Israel to take out the Hezbollah in Lebanon and to do what they need to do with Hamas. And now, all of a sudden, Hamas has come to the table. What does that tell you? Peace through strength, not strength through peace.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel. Stay informed anytime, anywhere with the Salem News Channel and 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This has been The Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.